Okay, this video we're going to disconnect and replace those capacitors. And maybe we should do the other one as well. I forgot there's actually 4 in here. I thought it was only 3, so that's handy. Yeah, that's the one I got disconnected because it was starting to spew its guts out again. So they probably should all be considered bad. And I think we'll just have to leave the components floating in the breeze somewhat. So we can disconnect these things and we'll just leave them in place. So we'll see what these new caps are like. So I just got these, what are they, 22 TX350 from Wagner. Obviously a lot smaller than the originals. And slightly higher value. So we're just really going to have to solder one leg to ground and one to these parts. Now the problem with this resistor is it's going to be floating at both ends. Could really do with a tag strip like that spare one or something. So that particular one's going to be on ground, isn't it? So it's really mostly about working out how we're actually going to mount this stuff. We could use that one earth terminal there, and maybe that doesn't quite reach there. So we've got to go from here to ground. Well, there's one back that way. We might have to make new grounds, which will be a bit of a pain, but... Oh, I see, there's a ground there, so we can just go across here, possibly. It's the point, I guess, each valve socket got to have a ground on it somewhere. So those two resistors come to the capacitor. We've got a wire comes from that terminal. Oh, this is interesting. Another option, I better be careful of these valves, is do I just go from that terminal to the ground? Because that cap is basically across here. And then we just snip this terminal off kind of thing. That's probably the easy way to do it, I guess. Get the soldering iron going nice and hot. That would actually make sense, I guess. That cap is basically across there. We've got to be careful we don't short out anything else. Or do we go from there to the ground? This bit's a lot messier. We're coming from that terminal there. That terminal, a cap to ground. Where's the ground on this valve? Over here by the look of it. There to ground. And the other side of that resistor, which is this terminal. So can we move this resistor from to there maybe? Because it goes, yeah, that's what I like the idea of. Maybe we'll move that resistor from between this resistor and that terminal. And we need to do then a capacitor. Have we got a ground here? Of course not. From that, we've got some spare tag strip too as a bonus. So maybe we'll so if we move that resistor over, we could go from here to another tag strip and then solder that to the nearest ground, like that one there. Because it doesn't matter, I mean that just loops from there across to where they can fit the caps and back again. So we're technically mounting the capacitor closer to where it's got to go anyway. Yeah, that's the kind of thing I want to do. Keep them out of the way, and the resistor can go from here. Where's the other end of it come from? There. Let's see, that wire there can probably reach, say, that one. But the resistor between those two, we'll have to go there to there. Oh, that's ground, so we can't use that terminal. So we'll make a longer wire, and then, yeah, just one cap to there, resistor somewhere, capacitor from the other one to the same terminal. So we're going to have two caps here somewhere. Both to ground, but to different other terminals. Something like that. That's those two big ones sorted. This one we've got to go from all this resistor and stuff here, that terminal to that terminal, nice and simple. You can put something over the leads to insulate them, of course. Heat shrink, spaghetti tubing or something. For a new cap that looks a bit dodgy, but so we're literally, from that pin. So those two resistors could swing across to here as well. Those two wires, not so much. And that's definitely to ground. Just got to work out how exactly we mount this thing. So something like that. And we don't want it sitting on hot resistors or anything, of course. Do we just go diagonally like that or something? That might just about do it. That's the negative on ground. Always double check and triple check that you put it in the right way. And remove the excess. That's not ideal. But that's that one done, which is this one. Like I say, can we... Is there any point we could, like I say, swing them over to the positive of the cap? And then we need somewhere to join those wires together. There's no spare terminals, but we do want to disconnect the old one. Otherwise there's 0 point doing this. It's mainly because the old one's likely to smoke. Certainly a bit dodgy to leave it floating in the air, but we may not have a lot of choice. And I better be careful of these rubber coated wires. These probably should have heat shrink put over them or something. Oops, big blob of solder falling off. I think they're solid core wires actually. I was expecting, oh, of course they're out of a transformer, I think, so out of a transformer or choke, one or the other, so that would be the copper wire that they're wound with most likely, just straight out. With a bit of insulation on it. I don't know, maybe it is a multi-core, that one. One is, one isn't, so one's just a wire. The green one, I think. And the other's a piece of transformer. And yeah, you've got to watch this rubber actually melts. try and loop that around the resistors. Get all those joined together and try and twist these together, I guess, and then attach them to the rest. Yeah, should have done that with pliers. Just really burnt that rubber up a bit. Well, that's not really going to go anywhere unless there's a lot of vibration or something, which is possible. So we've definitely gone, yeah, there, positive, negative. Assuming they are hooked up that way. I have to say they would be, wouldn't they? Pretty sure we already checked them. Oh, 16 microfarads. That's right, they're 525 peak, but I did check there's no voltages, anything like that in this machine. If you can even call it a machine, but... So one end of this goes to, yeah, so it's actually on that terminal. That's right. So we're going from that terminal. Yeah, that's right, we've got to get that other wire across the other side of it. So we can use the pre-existing spot here. We've got to get a capacitor on there too. Man, that is one heat-sucking terminal. I should have really straightened the leads out on this first, probably. Might just try and solder the whole round bit in there. I'll probably come across to this nearest one. Of course, that's facing the wrong way. We want this out of the way, and don't always remember these things may potentially get hot, so you don't want them near anything they can affect with heat, including these new capacitors. So a cap from there and a cap from there, well, that will go straight to ground there, I guess. Snip those leads short. Probably should tin this first. You never know how easy they're going to tin after all this many years. Yeah, not very well by the look of it. Oh, you son of a... I'll have to file this up a bit. Oh, actually I can't use that terminal. I keep forgetting. Oh, actually I can use that terminal because it is ground anyway. That's alright. I might wire it to ground as well. But that is going to be the negative of the caps. Going to take some heat and work to get this tinned. Oh, there we go. Once you got enough heat in there. So this wire can be cut off. This wire might be useful for the other side because we need a longer one, and I can use a bit of original wiring, hopefully. Can I get that out of there? Probably. Let's just not even try it, because that stuff pulls back. Let's tin it. So that has to come under all this stuff. Let's hope this doesn't affect anything to this black resistor. Anything as far as, there is a risk you'll run something that interferes with something else or something. You've got to be a little careful doing this sort of stuff, but hopefully we don't affect the dynamics. It's only an audio amplifier, but still, with RF stuff you could certainly maybe do something. So you can't just go throwing stuff everywhere where you want it necessarily, but I think we'll be fine in this one. Hopefully we're reducing hum, not increasing it doing this. Some nice fresh caps, although they did all measure fine from memory. It's just one decided to get hot inside or whatever and start spewing out its contents. Now we've got I've just realised an issue here. I don't know if I caused that just then, but these wires are starting to fracture. And this is the problem, really, all this rubber coated stuff wants. Is that the one? Oh no, this goes to this terminal as well. I'm going to have to cut that off, I think, and a lot of these are just plastic, but some of these are rubber, and guaranteed if you start moving them, you'll know it. So that goes in there, just all falling off now. Great. Problem is this goes up inside a choke or transformer or whatever, so don't know if you can get up inside there and fix it even better, but I think we'll just heat shrink or spaghetti-o this thing. I'll just use a bit of this fibre glass tubing salvaged out of some old heater or something. That way the rubber can do what it wants in there. Because if it was just point to point, I'd certainly just replace the wire, but it's not going to be that easy, is it? And now I've got the trouble trying to get this right up this tube. Now we're getting to a flexi bit. Let's just wind that up a bit stiffer. Oh yeah, that did the job. Still going to get to the end. There we are. Poke that down inside there a bit. Along as much of this wire as we can. Only just makes it, unfortunately. And making sure we don't touch that other terminal on the tag strip, because that is ground. And this is definitely not ground. Yeah, in a perfect world, all this rubber wiring should be replaced. If you're doing a proper resto, yeah, a bit difficult when some of it's going into transformers and stuff and they look like there's sort of wax or something coming out of some of these like that. So not the easiest thing to get into and repair fully. And this resistor we're going to have to get up off those rubber cables. I think the rest of them will be okay for now if I don't touch them. At least those two are joined together anyway, so they're not going to worry each other. We've sealed up the only other one as far as we can. And I need one from ground, which is that side. I think we'll keep it away from that other resistor. Shame they don't make the axial ones like they used to, the cap cases, because they had nice long leads on them coming out each end. And that we're going to have to put a bit of heat shrink or something on. And yeah, keep them well away from all the hot stuff. So they can go next to each other, will be fine, I think. And like I said, we'll put a wire to ground just to make sure, rather than relying on a screw, which could have a bad or high resistance contact there, could be a bit corroded or something. A lot of manufacturers do just some stuff through screws and stuff, but best practice is this one's soldered on, this one's just screwed on. So that's what they did when they, well, admittedly they haven't used that one, but maybe they had ideas of using it. But I'll keep using some of this original, it's tinny as well, original wire where I can. Because this is not rubber coated. Ooh, I should have held that a bit further back. So it does involve quite a bit of mod to the original chassis, which is not ideal if you're trying to do a sympathetic restoration, which is I guess why people pull the guts out of the old capacitors and put the new one inside the old can, which is obviously the nicest way to do it, using all the original connections as well as making it look identical to what it originally did. This certainly looks like it's been messed with. That's pretty pain-free so far, but of course I didn't quite order enough caps. But I think I'll do this one because this amp's probably the more important thing to have running right. Is one of these earth? Doesn't actually look like it. What the... is that the... oh, that's the rectifier probably. What were the... oh, there's some sort of ancillary power connections, I think. Oh, and there's that. Oh, that might have been the lamp that went under the chassis. Oh, yeah, this is the actual power in, that's right. So that power in cord is just wired to those two in parallel. And I guess somehow from there we get to this, got a choke or whatever. We've got two wires across there. I'm not sure which one was the rectifier now. There's a mouse poo in there. How the hell did it get stuck to the top of it? Oh, what was once the the upright part of the chassis. Let's clean that out. Must have been clinging to something there. That cap from here, which is this line which comes back to where that inductor maybe. Where does that go? I really don't want to touch any of this if I can help it. I think we're going to need the full length on this one. Negative to ground. And ideally you probably should bend these away from the body a bit so you're not bending right on the rubber seal there and putting any tension on that. But we can only just make it, which is a bit annoying. And this is going to probably run fairly hot. Yeah, shame it wasn't on the other side of that valve. I guess what we can do is bend this over a bit. That's nicer, I think. Yeah, that's off the valve socket and stuff, so it's not touching any of the hot bits. And I thought there is another electrolytic in here, isn't it? .25 microfarad, 40 volt. Not sure that's worth changing, but did I check that? I can't even remember. At least there's no paper caps in this thing. Certainly measures okay, I think. 25. Should be 1.5. Oh, 40 volts is a bit higher. 22 at 63 volts here, still 1.5. So it's well under. Probably should be replaced, but I think we might leave that one for now. Oh, but it's good to get that done. We've definitely disconnected all the old ones, haven't we? Oh, no. Just thinking that last something was nagging at me. That last one I didn't actually disconnect it, so that's not very good. Very easy to forget to do what you're supposed to do. Might even just leave that wire connected for now to the capacitor. So yeah, radio's got the 3 of them there. I've only got 2 left, but I can always put a couple of 10s, which I also ordered in parallel, isn't it, with capacitors. Parallel increases it because you're adding more capacitance to the voltage rail basically, whereas you put 2 resistors in, you're allowing 2 paths for that electricity to go through, so you're just kind of halving it. Now, where are these things? They're in a row along here. Probably easier to see on the camera than it is for me. So one is just connected to this red thing here. Do we have an earth on this thing? We do. So that's probably our first thing to bypass. Do we worry about that one or the others? Doesn't really matter, I guess. That resistor someone's already changed. These ones, we've got those 3 resistors on one side. Why has someone wrapped a wire around that just to hold it or something? That's rather weird. Or is that to couple something into that cap? So 3 resistors, a resistor between them. This has got that terminal. So that's handy. So we've got a terminal there. So if we can put that resistor and that resistor onto that terminal. And yeah, these are not so easy, a bit messy. We need to put them in the air somewhere. Move everything that way a bit maybe. that resistor can go to those resistors. It's just there really. Or what? The other thing, that's what I was thinking of, snipping the actual lead off the thing is another way. As long as there's a gap to the capacitor, that might be the easiest with these. If I can get some decent cutters in there. I have to get that resistor out of the way anyway, I think. Let's just hope it doesn't break or anything. Shouldn't do, but who knows. How do you get in there? Almost have to unsolder everything to get access, which is a bit of a pain. Can I get the big ones in there? Because they are the ideal ones to use. Yeah, that resistor's going to be a bit of a pain, but I can just get onto it, I think. There we go. So if I just snip that like that and lift it up a bit, putting that resistor somewhat back to where it was, and we just got to go a capacitor from there to whichever one of these. That one's ground, though not the best maybe. What have they done? They've kind of soldered it, but it's still screwed. And a capacitor from here to ground. One of these must be ground, surely. Dunno. Let's see if we can get down into that one as well. Got the resistor again in the way. I think we're going to have to remove that resistor. Can we do it without just cutting it? That's the one that it isn't going to come off. Looks like the others might, but that one will not. Always the way. We're going to have to chop it, I'm afraid. Now I'll chop the lead off the cap. And put them all back together. There it is. So, no point getting too excited yet because we've got to put the capacitor into this bundle as well. Which means, no doubt, as soon as we touch that, to add that, everything else will unsolder from each other. Because that's what usually happens, and I know the terminal's falling off. Now you decide you're gonna, yeah, typical. Now the terminal decides to come off everything. Make sure I get that out of there, because that's gonna make a splat otherwise. Two of those resistors in parallel. I guess we possibly could have replaced them with a single one, but anyway, that's not something we're going to be doing. Kind of need to cable tie that resistor to the other two while I attach the next one, and then we've still got a capacitor to add, and I've got to get that terminal out of there. Yes, that's the old cap terminal. But if that's just hanging in there, we've got plenty of resistors to kind of keep it in place. Now that one goes to chassis. So we're going to go from there to chassis, here to chassis, which is another chassis line there. Got to tell you what, that wire in the factory was put in. I guess it's not that close, but closer than I like to see. So that just here comes through a wire to here. I suspect that resistor goes through that terminal and back around, so in theory maybe we can remove that terminal and put that other resistor. I think that's what they've done. Yeah, it's moving along that resistor lead. I mean, we don't have to take it out, but yeah, they've just put this 100k or whatever it is, wrapped it round, but you'd still really have to disconnect it to remove it. So possibly not worth the bother. Let's bend that back somewhere where it was originally, making sure we're not touching the old cap. And we put one electro over there. How long do we? We don't really want it all that long, do we? I'll take a bit of length out of that. Shouldn't really tin it over the chassis, because if a bit of solder drops off, it's going to go and stick to God knows what. Negative on that side. Positive there. Which one's ground here? That one. So a bit of a fiddly job. So which one's negative? That one. That's the screw to chassis. Get the negative side on that. Can we sort of fit this under here alright? I think we can. Maybe I'll go sideways with it. That's not really going to work. Don't really want it on the resistor. So I think coming back this way is best. Although we should have left that other lead longer. I should have left the positive lead longer. We could cut the negative shorter, I guess, because we kind of want this out of the way. I think that'll be alright. But we don't really want that up against resistors, so maybe if I make that a bit shorter. Let's maybe put that one on first, and now everything's trying to escape as predicted. Oh, I'm gonna have to lift everything up, I think, to get it to join properly. Is that going to make it now? I should have gone back a bit further if I can. I've got a bit of room to tilt that up there. They're all definitely connected, well away from the old capacitor. That's well away from the old capacitor, and pretty solid, that connection. So we've just got this one more here, which is just this red wire. Still a bit of rubber wire in here, which probably ideally should be replaced. Most of it looks okay, and it's probably okay as long as it's not touched. So that's right, this is that red wire to here. So we can just go across there to there, basically. So if we snip that old red wire out, I might just leave it in there for now. Or yeah, there's not going to be any voltage on that end, so that can sit there as long as it can't sort of snake its way back. See, they have a habit of returning to where they originally were if you're not careful. So just make sure it can't come back to its original position and hook itself up again. Now soldering this is going to be fun. I might have to solder further up this capacitor lead or something, because that chassis is going to suck a lot of heat out. Yeah, I think we can just get enough heat into there, just. It's a good thing I ordered some 10 microfarad 450 volt ones as well. Thought it'd be handy to have a few in stock. Well, I'm only going to end up with a couple in stock now. But that's life. How should we do them? Something like, I guess 2 leads that way, maybe wrapped around each other. I think we're going to have to put some insulation on this one. I guess one cap can go across to the other cap. Something like that. And what we can do is even fold that round to make sure that it's really a good connection, and it'll make it easier to solder and stuff. Not something you should normally have to do in the modern world, but sometimes you had to substitute what you had to get something going. So that's going to be going on to about there. They're going to come across to there somewhere, so about the end of that lead. So that's the one that's going to need a bit of heat shrink on it, just to make sure the positive can't touch the negative under any circumstances. I think those two are kind of going to come together. If you can wrap them together, it's not a bad idea. So that goes to about there. Or should we go the other way? Then we've got a couple of hot resistors there. I think we'll go this way. Might even put the positive on first. Not sure it's the best strategy, but it's going to be the easier one to attach, and then it gives it a bit of rigidity while we put a ton of heat into the other one. Which might be useful. Yeah, maybe I should have come in a bit further. Make sure I've got a nice big blob of solder there. And get them up as far as we can on some of the hotter stuff. Just check that heat shrink's doing its job and everything. If we can twist another one away a bit. Yeah, try and leave a gap regardless of heat shrink or not. That's it, I think. And I disconnected that one? Yeah, good. They're cut off. That's it, there's 3 of them and they're done. So I guess we can power this thing up one more time out of the unit. And I might just add a guitar socket to it as well. I'm thinking put a 6.5 socket in line with the tuner input or something into the amp, because it'd be cool if you could actually plug a guitar into this thing and maybe use it as it is with the 2 12-inch speakers on it. I'd actually like to hear what it sounded like. I don't know that valve guitar amps are necessarily any better, but a lot of people swear by them. And I do have to rewire the speakers a bit too, I think. And that should be just about it for this job if everything works. Well, we have dial lamps. At least they still work. I can see some heaters happening. Not sure if the volume's up or anything. Not sure where the volume even is. Oh, one of these knobs. Oh, here. Well, it's not sounding good so far. We've got something, but not much. Horrible noise. So all I did is change a cap in the radio, I think. That's shortwave, I think, which doesn't seem to do anything either. Great, so it's died. Oh, there's something. Well, that sounds alright. So, not very loud. Got a gram. That doesn't sound the best either.